And good afternoon, everybody. This is Michael Filigera. I am with logicalsignals.com and also tradershelpingtraders.com. And this is the Elliott wave update for the S&P 500 index for Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. We continue to see some good, strong downside today, and that basically was kicked off by the CPI numbers that came out this morning pre-market, and that kind of pulled a big gap down on the charts, which were right here. And then it did rally back up. Everybody thought that was just an anomaly, and then they rallied it back up, and then the real sellers kind of came back in, and then the market continued to trace out its five-wave structure down. Now I've added the count, and so I want to kind of go over that real quickly. Now I will color coordinate everything up thus far, because I know I have to go back and I've got to change the colors, and the labeling will remain the same, but I need to change the degrees so that it's all consistent with what we're doing. So taking it from that high, what we're doing, we're counting a five-wave structure down, which is going to be the initial 5 waves down to kick off this much larger corrective phase, which we're right now intending for it to be an intermediate degree ABC, an intermediate degree fourth wave. And within that, I'm right now determining that, or feeling very strongly that this first leg of that fourth wave down, the wave A, is likely breaking into a 5-wave decline. That seems to fit pretty cleanly. And there's a very strong possibility that when we get down to this low, when this wave is complete, that may complete that initial 5 down, and we may put an A there. Again, we will determine once the market tells us what it wants to do, then we'll be able to put the correct labeling on and work for our next direction and where we're going to go. In any case, at the end of the 5, I would anticipate that we will at least get an ABC corrective bounce before we get an additional 5 waves down, which is going to help us put a degree level on this whole thing. So back to the chart. So what I've labeled it now is 1, 2, then we started to subdivide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was the third. Then here's the fourth. And now we're into the fifth, which is also subdivided. And within that thus far, I marked 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I've not put the fifth in because I don't think that it's done yet. And so I'm going to wait and just see. Now, there's a very strong possibility that this is the 5 down here, and then we'll complete that, but I don't think so. So I'm not ready to put that in yet. I still think we have an additional leg down. And now I can put on some different Fibonacci's, because yesterday we were looking at some higher levels, and we were coming up with numbers that were around 4,000 is where we believed, or where I think that this will all end. And now let's just see if we can come up with those same basic structures and see if we get those same numbers. Now let's see what we got. Actually, we've got 4,023. So a little bit of an adjustment of where we think this can drop to. So we got another $40 down to finish this, and then begin an additional bounce higher. Right now, we've reached the 0.786 level, but where wave 5 would be equal to wave 3 would be down at 4,023. So I really wouldn't want it to go too much further, because I'm going to have to back around and change all of this count coming off. Because again, wave 3 has to be, well, is usually the longest and the strongest. Wave 5 could be a little bit longer, because right now wave 1 is the shortest, because wave 3 cannot be the shortest out of 1, 3, and 5 within that sequence. So often it's the longest, but it cannot be the shortest. That's one of the rules. And in this case, if it's equal, then it still fits. If it goes a little bit further, it actually would still fit. It just means that the fifth wave is, this fifth wave down is going to subdivide a few times. And that may be the case yet. So we'll wait and see. We'll let the market tell us. But right now, I'd be looking for 4,023.50 or in that area to contain it, to market, and to start the next bounce. And what we also have, I mean, we can come all the way down and be looking at this. I mean, if this thing really kicked into gear and started going, our next levels, you can see them, folks, are below 4,000. And then I think that it would be very similar to what happened into the NASDAQ today. When the NASDAQ eventually did break 13,000, started heading lower, it started to pick up the speed. Initially, it just kind of came down a little bit, rallied back up. But then when the sellers returned in the last hour of trade, it was like everybody out of the pool, and it just drove it lower. And as we actually saw here as well, but not as hard. So if the selling gets hard, these are the levels that the market can come to. And so we need to bear that in mind and to trade what's in front of us and not be married to any of these support levels, thinking that they have to hold, because more than likely they may or they may not. That is the reality of our situation. We are in a corrective phase. We again saw the Dow nosedive today. Nosedive. It was down 681 by the close. Yes, it's rallying a little bit as we come into the Globex session, but that really would be anticipated, that it's going to rally back up a little bit since it dropped so heavily. In fact, that's what I would expect across the board. The NASDAQ continues to try to rally higher, and they keep dropping it lower. And that fits with the pattern, the structure, and what expectations are. I'm not really looking for, yes, we're going to get bounces, but I'm not looking for strength in those bounces, not yet. So I don't think that the selling, this initial selling, is over. So for tomorrow, we may see a little bit of a bounce. I do not think that these bounces will go very high. So I would look for 4,073 to 75. With an outside chance, it's going to get all the way back up to 4,087, 4,090. Maybe. I actually would not be looking for that, but be prepared should it start to break. That would be the next level up. For the downside, once it starts to break below today's lows, which is about what, 51, I think it was. Yeah, 4,051. Then I'm going to start to look for this level. And it's going to come down in its own little 5 waves. And so those can still have a chance to subdivide. In fact, I would think that's what's already underway. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe, and then a 5. So we continue to drop in 5 waves, rally in 3, drop in 5. And that continues to say that right now, the trend remains down. So that's why I'm going to continue to look for these lower levels to be reached before we get a larger bounce. Like once this 5th wave is put in place, then I would be expecting a larger bounce, and we can run Fibonacci numbers for retracements right from that high to the expected low. And then once that occurs, that's what we'll do. So tomorrow, we're looking for lower levels. We will play it. Use your moving averages. Use your Fibonacci. You can change the Fibonacci during the day to fit where it should belong. And in fact, just to be very quick here, we can actually, I'm going to undo that Fibonacci. And then we're looking to go see what could be left on this 5th wave. Well, let's do another extension, which is going to be wave 3. That's 5 is related to 3. And we got it right there. And we got now 4,012. So you can see we're now building a zone. Our zone really can go to, well, 618 would be the most common, and that's only down to 41. If we get heavy selling, I don't think that's going to hold. So I would be looking for the next one down, which is 4,034, then 4,029, 28. But ultimately, it would equal, 5 would equal 3 at 4,012. And so we got that zone. What was the other one? 4,020, 4,012. So it all kind of matches up, and that provides a nice zone for us, that where this could all end. And actually 4,031 down to 4,012 or 4,010 fits very cleanly. Ultimately, like I said, I do expect 4,000 to come into the picture, but this gets it pretty dang close. And then we would expect that to be broken on the, once we get through a larger a larger ABC correction, and then the next drop down will certainly take it below all of that. But when we get there, we'll go over that. So have a very good trading day tomorrow. And the next update will be Thursday, May 13th.